4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Human is the most extraordinary people of all. A very happy morning to everyone on behalf of Department of Computer Science of GSSC College for Women. I, Srimati from BSc Computer Science, feel immensely delighted to be the host of today's Tech Festa Brainbyte 2022. I extend a warm welcome to everyone. My special welcome to our today's chief guest of honor, Mr. Edward Satish C, Head of Technology, Chennai Global Delivery, Harvard Worldwide. Welcome, sir. A day without a prayer is a day without a hope, and a life without prayer is a life without power. Let us get ready for the prayer.
Secretary of Computer Science Department, and a warm smile. I know Department of Computer Science to give the welcomers and introduce our guest honor to the audience. Please, ma'am.
Very good morning to one and all present here. I am Dr. all the participants of other colleges and students of our department. I welcome all the faculties of our department. Thank you all for joining us. The Department of Computer Science established in the year 1991. Since then, every year, the department organizes Intercollegiate Technical Fest Brainbyte, and this time it is Brainbyte 2022.
These technical fests brings in leadership, organizing capabilities, and teamwork among the students. Brainbyte includes events such as Hack and Crack, Check Trivia, Voice Virus, and Cyber Tool. Now it's time to get to know about the guest of honor, Sri Edward Satish, Head of Technology, Chennai Global Delivery, Hogarth Worldwide. Sri Edward has 20 plus years of experience in the IT industry with a strong background in digital solutions, design and delivery, automation, enterprise solution, resource management, cutting across various domains and geographies. He has started his career as the transition and transformation programmer manager of the multi-service integration team at Centrica Express Scripts and Syncage. Later, he had managed and delivered programs for the delivery director and tech solution advisor at
Yeah, hello all. Am I audible?
Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Padmini. And firstly, audio check. Am I audible precisely to all? If
Yes,
yes,
sir, you are audible.
fine. Sometimes what happens is that I speak and people are not able to hear, and it's absolute, waste of time, right? So, yeah. So, firstly, let me thank the management of GSS Chain College, okay, Dr. Jyoti, and the rest of the faculty, and also the class students who've been able to organize this. Yeah. So I'm immensely, honored to be here and to be talking about the latest IT trends to, beginners like the entire audience as such. Uh, if you look at what's happening in the IT industry, okay, this might not be same as what each of our students think of, right? So it gives a bit of thought process. It takes a bit of thought process for people to understand what actually are the trends in IT, right? So I take this opportunity to present you the trends in IT from two backgrounds. Okay, one background is how are you going to use these technologies in future, and how are you going to be part of this technology in the future, right? See, most of you as students will be interested to know how will I get a job in that technology, what should I do in that technology to get a job, right? So, and how do I upskill from an existing knowledge of a skill, how do I upskill into this newer technologies that I'm going to share in a while. Yeah, so it's all about how do you pursue a career in one of these technologies, right? See, IT has grown immensely. Okay, in fact, it is accelerating. Every day there's a new technology. You take any field of IT, every day there's a new concept that's evolving, and there's a new trend that's been set by newcomers, people who are actually innovative, people who are creative, people who are able to always think about solving problems. Okay, in the end, humans remain as humans. We get so much of dependency on systems that we continuously evolve the systems in helping us solve human problems. So, in fact, IT evolves to solve human problems, right? So, I'm sure that most of you would only want to understand how is it applicable to you, how is it applicable in terms of your career, and what should I learn or which technology should I embrace to ensure that you have a stable career, right? So allow me to share the screen. Okay, it's a very simple, you know, set of slides. I'll just share my screen. If you're able to see mine, yeah. Okay. So most of these technologies that I've listed are technologies which you would have already known or in some form would have been involved in this technology. Yeah. Padmini, I'm okay to take questions on the go. Yeah. So if students, if you have, or the management has a, a lack of clarity, or if they have a doubt, they can actually raise their hands, or can actually interrupt and ask me questions, and I'm happy to take questions. And I'm also happy to take questions in any language. Okay, so you can ask me in Tamil, you can ask me in Hindi, you can ask me in Telugu, of course English. Yeah. So don't shy away and hesitate. Please make use of this opportunity. Ask me as much as questions as possible. If I do not know, I might get back to you, but if I have an idea that I can share with you, I'll definitely share. Yeah. So given the fact, all these technologies that we're speaking about are the trends that are happening now, will be having to grow enormously in the next few years, probably the technologies of the decade. Yeah. Some of these we have already been part of it, some of these we already know, some of these we already are pursuing, right? See, in the last 6 to 7 years, artificial intelligence and machine learning has become the talk of the town, isn't it? But a lot of people do not know that what needs to be done to get into a career for artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay, so to do that, one has to understand what it is, and to actually get into the career aspect of AI and ML, you need to understand where is it being applied, right? So artificial intelligence, as the name suggests, yeah, it is intelligence by the system. You build the intelligence for the system for it to think on its own. How do you do it? The system cannot learn by itself. It needs some form of a learning. So that's why AI is always termed with ML, right? So intelligence is imparted, intelligence is computed, intelligence is executed. Okay, so all this is done by a process of enabling the system to learn the trend, the predictability, the analysis. All these are the binding components of artificial intelligence. Okay, so where do we apply it? Okay, see, there are complex calculations that we cannot do. There are decision making skills that we cannot take. So in such cases, such problems are solved by use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Yeah. So machine learning, you can actually have the machine to understand a trend and then follow that trend and execute and provide you a decision based on the historic decisions taken by humans. So we feed data into the machine, telling them in these situations, this is the path it was taken, this is the answer that was given, this is how the computer was being owned to provide a solution, and use of which the machine is able to compute a path and a decision to make, and therefore there's a computed answer that comes out. So that's how machine learning is being conceptually implemented. Yeah. So where do we apply it? I can give you some examples. Okay. So we have this business problem where a particular client wanted to process the text in the documents. They had huge set of documents. These were all insurance documents. The insurance documents were to be scanned. They were to be passed for certain entries. So, for example, I might have written I have claims of an insurance amount of $20,000. Okay, another person might write it as, I hereby claim $20,000 as my insurance claim. Another person will say, yeah, I owe. Okay, the company owes me $20,000. So either way, the information that is required out of that document is that the company has to pay me $20,000 because that's the insurance claim. So how do I get to understand with this variation of all these documents and texts that the decision to pay $20,000 to the particular person has to be taken? So that is where you get this use of AI and ML. Okay, so these documents are these are under scan, and in the scan we are able to parse the text, and then we are able to process the language by by ensuring that the artificial intelligence is able to understand what semantics is being conveyed out of that language. Yeah, we are able to understand that there is a value of 20,000, there is an action of a claim, and to whom it has to be processed. So when you're able to run a few set of documents, the machine automatically gets to build an algorithm which will say, if you get documents of this type, if you have data of this type on the documents, this is the scheme by which you have to extract data. This is how you form the semantics of the data, and this is how you're going to interpret the data, and therefore you'll be able to provide a decision as what needs to be done in terms of the problem that has been stated here. Yeah. So that's about machine learning, that's about artificial intelligence. Yeah, robotic process automation is yet another, emerging and existing trend. Yeah. So a lot of companies now do business transactions over paper, we call it, black and white transactions. And a lot of people have repetitive business transactions, which they would want to ensure that they reduce the human efforts in it, right? See, automation is all about reducing the human intervention in a system. Okay. A lot of people think that robotic process automation, that's RPA, or any form of automation, is going to remove human beings out of the system, and therefore they are going to go jobless. Yeah. So a lot of people, when I speak about RPA, ask me the question, are we going to go out of job? Why should I learn RPA if it's going to displace and make people redundant in systems? Yeah. So, but which is not always true. Okay. Any technology that comes into picture, it always creates new jobs. It always creates new trends as what the future holds for the human beings, right? So process automation is all about looking at processes which are repeatable, which needs huge amount of computation and processing, and therefore you automate it. So I can give you one example, because unless you understand the applicability of RPA, you might not have the interest to learn RPA. Yeah. So see, I'm not specific about languages. I'm just talking about the trend and the technologies that is involved here, right? So so the problem statement for use of RPA is where you have repetitive, huge, enormous transactions which need to be done with, without or avoiding human intervention, without ensuring, we'll have to ensure that there's lesser scope of errors and precision is required. Yeah. So again, I go back to this, example and applicability where we're talking about a bank which processes insurance, and so you will have some of the process that needs to be done. For example, when somebody presents a check, okay, there'll be thousands of checks that be presented in a bank, right? And somebody has to go clear it. So what is the steps that are required to clear a financial check? Is somebody has to verify it whether it has been signed. Somebody has to look at the value, the amount. Somebody has to ensure that the person who is actually having to draw is having that required amount, and then there is an approval process, and this approval process is the person who sees that this person has got an account in their own bank, therefore he need not be charged. There's a business rule about charging the person and then you let the check to be sent for a global or a national reconciliation among other banks, because you have checks within banks. So all this, if it is one or two checks in a day, fine. But when you think about a bank, you're talking about, the thousands of checks on a day, right? So this is where you might want to bring robotic process automation. There are various applicable situations for RPA, but I'm giving you a simple, for your understanding, I'm just giving you a simplistic problem statement where robotic process automation is applicable. Yeah. So here one can solve the issue of relying on the human being, relying on the delays, reducing the delays, and to also ensure that there is less of errors, scope of errors. What we do is all these checks get to be scanned, that is automated again, okay, and the data that's there on the check gets to be interpreted, okay. So that's where again AI and ML gets into picture. You get to scan the signature, you get to compare the signature, you get to read the you get to actually find out where the amount is written, then you extract the amount, and then you extract the MICR code, and all this get to be built into a scheme of data. And this data is now sent to a processing. Okay, the processing engine, which would be the head engine of the RPA, it will check if there are any rules to apply. Okay, and then it will just look at each and every data. It will apply some rules to validate, rules to qualify, and rules to send it to an approval process. And once the approval process happens, it notifies the people that your check has been cleared. All this will be automated. Now, RPA, the scope of RPA is not just limited to banking alone. The RPA can be taking shape into any form of the industry. Okay, today, mailing systems, email, mass mailers, marketing, all this make use of both AIML as well as RPA. Now, moving on, see, I'm quite, yeah, so it is about the time that I'm, conscious about. So I'll just go, one by one in my pace. If you have any questions, you can actually shout out and I can actually respond back with an answer. Yeah. So edge computing. Edge computing is nothing but an extension of cloud computing. Cloud computing, a lot of people know that it has been there for years. Now it is all about how do we move away from the latencies experienced in cloud computing, how do we solve it? And therefore edge computing got into picture. So it's all about ensuring that instead of relying on one huge data center or a resilient data center for examples are AWS, Azure, and Google Clouds, right? So who provide you these services, mass services, which can be subscribed to, right? In edge computing, instead of relying on these huge data centers, you're actually going to rely on smaller computing modules, which can either be supercomputers or it can be computers which are kept idle but can be used for a parallel computing process. Yeah, so edge computing is an emerging trend. This is an emerging trend for people who've been using the cloud computing concept for some time. The next level of cloud computing is to move into edge computing to ensure that there's optimum use of hardware that is kept unused across the globe, which is networked on the internet. Yeah. So applicability, yeah. So there are certain, say for example, weather processing, right? So weather processing needs enormous amount of computing power. Okay. And there are times when you have to take data from every geography and predict the weather across the globe. You might need to use the processing power of enormous levels of computing, right? So that's where you might want to use edge computing. Although it's an emerging concept, a lot of people are just trying to understand where else it can be, used. Same is the next, which is quantum computing. Yeah, quantum computing is also another emerging trend. So this is all using the concept of quantum physics. So in reality, okay, a lot of people make use of computers which have been developed using quantum technology, and we put them to use. So edge computing, quantum computing, these are all trends towards better infrastructure. Yeah, and applicability is across all business industries. Some of the examples I spoke of for AI and RPA can be applied using the infrastructure provided by edge computing and quantum computing. Okay, so any questions? Okay, if I don't get to hear, that means either I'm disconnected or I'm not audible to the team. So if someone can acknowledge that I'm audible and you're still be able to see my screen. Padmini, are you able to see my screen? GSS Jain College, are you able to hear me? I need someone to acknowledge. Am I audible? Am I audible, team? Am I audible? Someone has to acknowledge.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please acknowledge as I speak, because otherwise I'll think that I've lost the connection. Yeah. And I'm quite surprised that people are not having questions. Yeah, so make use of this opportunity, ask me questions, it will help you. So I'll move on. Okay, so virtual reality, augmented reality, as well as extended reality. Okay, so these are existing concepts in 2022 which are also emerging, right? So it's all about how do we ensure the processing power of reality, virtual reality gets to be used, right? So when you say virtual reality, it's all about, how do we depict some of the data in terms of, visual, in terms of visuals, right? So for example, if I'm here conducting a seminar, okay, I need not have myself as an avatar, right? So I can have another avatar of mine taking the seminar or webinar, okay, and still be interacting with you, okay. So this is how augmented reality works, okay. So VR is a concept where the visual part of data gets to be mimicked us objects which are on the UI screen. Yeah, so on the viewport, you are able to see and interact with virtual people. That's what virtual reality is all about. All that you see in virtual reality are graphics created by the system itself, right? Augmented reality is a mix of reality and virtuality, right? So an applicability is where I need not go to a furniture shop at all. Okay, so for example, there are furniture shops in the US. So on the onset of COVID, what happened is that people stopped visiting, shops. So what they came with a solution is augmented reality stores. Okay, so which enables people to have a look at, say, for example, if you're going to buy a sofa, okay, you want to understand, how it would look in your bedroom or in your living room. All you need to do is, click photos of your, living room, and then you go to the site, you select the sofa, and then you upload the sofa into the AR facility, and then you'll be able to see in 3D how the sofa sits in your living room, and therefore you'll be able to decide whether it fits your room, it fits your room color, room theme, and you'll be able to buy it from that point in time itself, right? So another virtual reality is gaining trends in gaming, right? So all gaming is all about virtual reality now. Now people don't want to look at 2Ds, but they all have this VR goggles, and they are able to be part of the game itself. Earlier, people used to play games from the outside. Now people are able to play games from the inside, right? So this is all about how virtual reality is emerging. There are various applicability about VRs and ARs. Another trend is now education, right? So in educational industry, the industry is now building up avatars which can actually read out text to people in who we can actually see in uh, VR Googles, and we'll be able to feel the 3D part of all this virtual reality. So the VR and AR is another emerging technology which is now put to use in almost all industry. Yeah. So moving on to blockchain. Blockchain, a lot of people had quoted blockchain as the future of security. Yeah. So when we say security, we are talking about integrity of data that has to be managed across, right? So when you have a block of data that cannot be changed unless all the people that own the data accept and consent. So that means there is no malpractice at all. Okay. So with the onset of blockchain, we've been able to come up with secure forms of payments like cryptocurrencies. Now, although the government is not so decided about cryptocurrencies, but that's the way to go. So blockchain has also applicable for document securities, document verifications, and verifications of exchanges, shares, and so all people knew about blockchain is how it is used in cryptocurrencies. Yeah, how people will not be able to modify the entire block of data because it is being owned across by each and every participant in the block, right? And there's a definite scheme by which you will not be able to exceed that scheme, so that there's no newer intruders in the security. So blockchain, another emerging technology, use applicability is cryptocurrencies, and document verifications and document authentications and all. Yeah. IoT, yeah, Internet of Things, another area which we've been talking about, we've been using for long, but no one has got the idea that it is emerging enormously. Okay, so right now, if you look at, a lot of applicability is on the medical side, right? So on the medicine, what's happening now is doctors are now able to give wearable gadgets like watches or monitors which can monitor your heartbeat, and all these is controllable on the internet. Okay, and they participate in the overall decision making of what needs to be done, what medicine needs to be administered, right? So just like your electronic appliances at home, everything now can be connected on the internet, and you'll be able to control, you'll be able to understand what's happening of that appliances as well, right? So internet of things is also another emerging technology which people can pursue, which students can pursue as a career. Yeah. 5G is again, it is the infrastructure part. Yeah. So people knew 2G came in the news, 3G came in the news, 5G. It's all about the frequency that you use and the extensibility about the use of 5G technology on various devices. Okay, so that's also becoming more of an infrastructural trend. So the career technology that carries your data across, across cyber, right? So that becomes a key part for research, and a lot of newer gadgets are coming which are enabled on 5G. So it boasts, and it talks about the higher security, lower latency, performance in terms of the speed at which the data is transferred. So all these technologies, will need at some point in time, applicability across all the industries. So 5G is another emerging technology which is applicable across all the industries because it becomes the carrier, right? The carrier of data. Yeah. So now the last one is about cybersecurity. So when we spoke about all these technologies, okay, there are vast number of users who have been using these technologies, and there's critical data that gets to be transacted. There are critical decisions that we take use of this. So any lack of integrity, any intrusion, any mal data, or anyone who hacks will be able to screw up the whole system, right? So cybersecurity is yet another area which has picked up a trend in the last few years, because the more vulnerable the systems are, the more number of people we require, and more higher level of security technologies we require to ensure that all our applications are intact, and there is less data leaks, there are less integrity attacks, and hacking. So cybersecurity is yet another area which students can actually pursue as a career. So all these nine trends are the trends that Gartner or the NASCOMs. So all these huge software establishments have been thinking about, and have been investing a lot of money into this and efforts into it, so that the trend gets to take a pace for people like us to use these technologies and build business applications. And now for students, so if you are prepared, it'll be easy for you to upscale your career. If you are able to look through all these technologies and be prepared as what to expect in the industry, you will be better prepared to get a job, in comparison to people who didn't follow these technologies. So, having said this, I've been given 30 minutes. I'm not sure if I used up all the 30 minutes, or if I overshot the 30-minute thing. So what I've done is I've given you the highlights. Now it is for you students to understand which technology interests you the most. Do I have a choice? You have a choice. You have a choice about all these nine technologies. If you need to know what should you do to get yourself or your career shaped into this, you can reach out to me. I can give you my email ID, and I should be able to guide you to what prerequisites you need, and where should you look for knowledge about these technology, what companies are looking for these technologies, and what is the rather say the path that you need to take to pursue a career in these technologies. So that's it from me, and over to Padmini. Thank you. Padmini, if you can take questions, I'm happy to answer it. Questions? Jesus Jain College, are there any questions, please? Padmini, Padmini, yeah, can we move on?
Yes, sir. Actually, there is a question, sir. Can I read it out for you?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Kajol has asked, Sir, what is the basic programming language required to master these technologies?
Okay, so fine. So there is the basic programming language which I would recommend. So each and everyone can have their own views as what should be the basic programming language. Okay, for me, learning C would be the basic programming language, because it imparts knowledge of logic, knowledge of and structure. Yeah. So learn C and rest will all fall in place. If you learn C and if you master C, any language will become easy for you to learn. Okay. Today's trend, you know, school students, okay, when I say school students, I'm talking about students of fourth class and fifth class. They've started learning Python. Okay. So Python is similar to C. So I don't see a difference. But the reason why people have started learning Python is because it is a hype in the market. Okay, people started learning Java at one point in time because that was a hype in. But I would recommend learn C first. Okay, then C plus plus. You will understand OOPS. You'll understand the basics of structured programming, modular programming, and then you take on any language. Okay, and it will be easier for you. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Basic
There's one more
hardware.
question.
Okay. So, okay. See, when you talk about hardware, okay, so there definitely, you need a monitor, you need a CPU. With the current technology, okay, you need at least i7 core processor, and it depends on what you're putting that to use. Okay, the basic hardware right now, if you're going to have a sandbox on your own, I would recommend you have your own PC and start learning. But if you want to go on a high end, you might want to subscribe to some of the cloud services. A lot of people here subscribe to AWS, and they're able to get all the computing needs, and they start using it. So basic, go with your PC, that should do. If you don't have a PC, go buy one. Yeah. What are the skills required to enter an IT industry? Okay, valid question. Okay. See, we look at freshers, okay, so who we evaluate them for their logical reasoning, their learnability, okay, their understanding of programming structure, okay. So the skills that we look for, basically, if the person understands the structure of programming, okay, logical reasoning. And of course, we also check if the person is able to speak fluently. It doesn't matter, be it English or any other language, the person should be able to comprehend a question and answer back. So these are the skills we look for. Okay, that's in a fresher. Okay, but when it comes to lateral hiring, it depends on the specifics of the project we are looking for. Okay, so for example, now we are looking at DevOps, we're looking at AI experts. So it depends, right? So for you to enter the IT industry, yeah. So learn your C well. Okay, so that will give you the understanding and knowledge about the structure of programming, and then you learn some logical reasoning, material that there's lots in the internet where you can go find yourself evaluated for logical reasoning, and then you can have if you watch a lot of English movies, you'll get to be fluent in English, and you should be able to comprehend well. So all these will help you enter the IT industry. Any other questions? Go on, please. There was one question before this. What was that?
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, there was one question before this. What skills we need to develop if we are joining a game developing companies? But yeah. Yes, I said yes. IoT is definitely there's a scope for IoT. Long term. Uh, if you look at the emergence of internet, okay, so with the emerging technologies which are helping us grow the internet, all the devices that are being now manufactured have been enabled to be part of IoT. Okay, so you look at any refrigerator, you look at even lights are now okay being manufactured with an IC which can be communicating with the Wi-Fi. So definitely, there's a scope for IoT. Okay, so what is that you would need to get yourself into IoT is understanding of how programming languages can be used for IoT. Okay, so today people are less interested in hardware programming, but to a large extent, we don't really need to worry about hardware programming to get to IoT. But if you know how to load modules onto minute ICs and how do you actually control them, that's more than enough for IoT. Yeah. So there are existing modules which you can, like libraries, which you can extend and start using for IoT. Yeah. Yeah. So next was something related to gaming. Yeah. See, gaming has been a big industry. Okay, a lot of companies did put their hands dirty on gaming, but they couldn't succeed because it is about the concept that gets to be a success factor. Okay, the concept is the major success factor. The technology is secondary. Okay, a very simple game. If you look at Snake, right? The Nokia came up with the Snake. The Snake game, okay, the concept is very simple, but it was accepted widely, okay. So all that was needed was an algorithm which actually captured your input. If you press right, it moves right. And then, the business rule was, if you are able to eat the prey, you actually elongate the size of the snake. So the concept was well, accepted by people of all ages, and therefore it became a success. Right? If you can display the question again, maybe I might want to re-answer it. Yeah, display the question, please. Question regarding gaming. Another point to add is that today we got lots of pre-built software. Okay, for example, if I want to have a gaming concept of running and catching, so all I need to do is I go load the PX Mac. There's a module, and then I just need to. It is an extension to 3D Max. I just create a avatar, and then use of that avatar, I can actually write functions and attribute it to uh, keystrokes, and based on the keystroke the avatar can actually move forward or backward, and then I can create another avatar which can be the catcher. Okay, so there'll be an additional function attributed to it which will be extend the arm and catch the person. So it is all about understanding the concept first. Okay, and if the concept is well accepted by uh, people, there are lots of softwares, pre-built softwares, which we can use to create that and implement that concept. So gaming, yes, that's how that's the skill that you might want to have. Yeah. Any questions? I don't see any questions here. Yeah. So as I said, the skills. Okay. C and C++ were the basic developing language that one of the companies that I knew was looking for. Okay, so they were into gaming. Okay, so gaming using graphics. So all the graphic modules were written in C++, and therefore they were looking for C++, skilled developers. So learn C++, and learn the concepts of gaming, and that should help you get into any gaming company. See, the fact is that you're all freshers. Okay, there'll not be much of expectations from you to know an advanced PX Max or an advanced gaming software or gaming avatar creating software and all. Okay, they'll want to know if you know the basics better, if you know the C structure better, if you're able to program, if you're able to visualize and conceptualize objects. That's all that they might want to look for, apart from your soft skills, apart from your presenting skills. So there's no specific language you need to know as a fresher to enter the gaming language. But if you have the interest in gaming, a lot of gaming concepts need to be browsed for. Yeah. Any other questions? What skills are required for a front-end developer? Okay, fine. So first, let's understand. What is a front-end developer? Okay. See, today the world is all about advertising, marketing, sales, right? And all these require content. Okay, and this content gets to be presented in various websites. Yeah, and the content gets served from a system called content management system. Okay, it can be a SharePoint server, it can be a Drupal server, it can be a Drupal thing. So all this get to be served on your browser, right, as a website. So the website needs to be presented in a manner that it attracts people to be lured into that website. So you need UI skills. So UI skills. Okay, so what are UI skills? User interface skills is the tech stack that you need to know to build websites or the front end pages. Okay, so some of the tech stacks that you need to start with is Bootstrap, okay, HTML5, CSS. So these are front end skills which are basic that we look for, which is good enough to develop any front end part of any website. Yeah. So yeah, HTML5, CSS, Bootstrap. Yeah. Any other questions? Madam, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
No, sir. We would like to move to end of the session. Thank you, sir. We are very grateful to learn so many knowledgeable things from you today, sir. I request Brainbyte event coordinator, Ms. Satyapriya ma'am, Department of Computer Science, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Sure.
A warm and graceful morning to all. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks. I, Ms. Satyapriya, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science, on behalf of Guru Shri Shanti Vijay Jain College for Women, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. I would like to thank our chief guest, Mr. Edward Satish, Head of Technology, Chennai Global Delivery, Hogarth Worldwide, who spared time from his busiest schedule to grace the occasion. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage our students in their future events. I also extend my wholehearted thanks to our Honorable Secretary Dr. Gautam P. Vaik and our beloved Principal Dr. M.K. Malati ma'am for their guidance and support. I thank all our faculty members, our students, and each one of them who made this function memorable for all of us. Thank you.
I request everyone to stand up for the national anthem, please.